Welcome. Today I'm very happy to be in the presence of Kaj Korpela. He's very hospitable and invited me into his home just to have a discussion. Yeah, because I was very interested in hearing your story. You have made a handmade tourbillon watch, which looks absolutely amazing. So you grew up originally in Sweden?
Exactly, yeah. I come from Sweden, and I did my watchmaking training there. So when I was 17, I went to the watchmaking school. I was actually recommended by my brother Henrik, and I didn't know anything about watchmaking before. So I decided, okay, I'll take the chance.
Yeah.
And already from the beginning, I saw that this is really something for me. I really loved it. So I was really lucky because they were actually shutting down the school.
Okay.
The only school in Sweden, watchmaking school. And so I was really lucky to get in. And already after the first year, they informed us that they will close down the school anyway.
Okay.
So we were the last class going through that school.
Yep.
And so after 3 years, we all finished it. But they said, you don't get the journeyman certificate that we would usually get.
Okay.
So they told us, if you want it, you can redo the last year in the new watchmaking school in Sweden. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna redo the last year and also learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
And during that last year, my brother, he moved to Switzerland, and I got the chance to do my apprenticeship.
Okay.
Also during that time, then the last year. So that was actually, it was a really good chance. And where I did the apprenticeship, where my brother was working, they offered me the job there then. So when I finished school, I could go to them.
Yep.
It's a brand called Ventura. Yes. Ventura Design and Time in Zurich. And so after the last weekend in school, I was already here in Switzerland.
Yep.
I started there. And 3 years I did there actually, that company. And it was really interesting. It was quite a basic job, service and production.
Yep.
Of both mechanical and quartz watches. So it was a really good experience for me. But at some point I felt like I need to learn something else now.
Okay.
Something more, move on.
Yep.
So I went to Vostep in Neuchâtel and did the refresher course. That's a 5-6 months course.
Yep.
And my brother, he was already there. He did the same course, and he was offered a job as a teacher.
Okay.
Just a year before I went there. So when I came there, he was the teacher. He was my teacher. So that was quite an interesting experience.
Yeah.
And it was also a very positive experience.
Yeah.
Him as a teacher, because he's really good and very dedicated.
Yeah.
So after that half year, it was very, very intensive. And I learned a lot of new things that I hadn't learned in Sweden.
Okay.
So moving on from there, I got a job in Juliusnadel.
Yeah.
I actually applied to a lot of companies, but I never got an answer. I got answer from 3 companies.
Okay.
But I decided to go to Juliusnadel.
Yeah.
And there I came to the complicated department, the complicated watches then, tourbillons, minute repeaters and such, mainly for production, but some service also. And I think it was after 2 years I felt like, I really, now I need to move on here. I learned everything I could here almost.
Yeah.
And so I was offered job with Halter.
Okay.
So then I said, okay, I'm gonna go there. That's gonna be really interesting because he have a completely different approach on watchmaking.
Yeah.
Independent watchmaker.
And just what year roughly was that?
That was I came here 2003, 2006. I did the refresher course, or 2005. I think 2008. I was at Venice.
Yep.
But after a year, I was offered to go myself independent.
Okay.
I got quite much work on the side, so I decided I'm gonna take the chance.
Yeah.
Sadly, because I really like to work with Vianney.
Yeah.
He's a really good teacher and very interesting watchmaker. But I saw this, maybe I don't get this chance again.
Yeah.
So I decided I go independent now. So doing mostly production of different complicated watches.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I started to collect machines and equipment during this time.
Yeah.
Because I was working in my apartment, actually together with Henrik. I was living together with him at that time.
Yeah.
So we could share the costs for the living.
Yeah.
He was collecting also tools and machines. I was doing it also. So that's how it slowly started to collect. And then at that time I started thinking, it would be really interesting to actually start making parts, maybe making my own watch, tools.
Yeah.
And then slowly I started to think about what would I like to do, really. Mm-hmm. But it felt far away to make a complete watch. That felt this is so complicated, so difficult.
Yeah.
So it took I took a few years before I actually started to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
And so I started independent, I think it was 2009. And it was only until 2014 something, I think.
Okay.
Then I started drawing on something. First I wanted to modify an old miniature Peter pocket watch.
Okay.
Build a tourbillon into that.
Yeah.
So I measured a hole. I bought a miniature Peter, a bit medium size, a bit too big to have in a wristwatch,
Okay.
but at least a project that I could start with.
Yeah.
So I started to draw each part. I had only a pointer, a Hauser M1 pointer,
Yeah.
so I could manually point XY for each part, and just one part could take a few hours just to find out all the coordinates.
Yeah.
And then into a inventor, Autodesk Inventor,
Yep.
to draw the part in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
So I did part by part, and a miniature Peter is a few hundred parts.
Yeah.
And at some point I was completely, I think almost the whole movement was in Inventor then in 3D.
Oh,
so I could move it around, all the parts, see how they interacted.
Yeah.
And then I started to figure out how do I build a tourbillon into this, because I wanted to do something kind of a challenge.
Yeah.
And that took a long time, but I was able to do it in Inventor. And at this time, when I come quite far, it just slowed down. I had too much work, actual production and service and restoration. Mm-hmm. And so it took longer and longer time. And it just stalled or it postponed. I postponed it too much. And at some point, there was a fluctuation in the economy in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So at some point I started to get less work. I took more time for my own project, but then suddenly I had too much work. So it all postponed a bit.
Yeah.
Up and down. And then I think it was 2015. Several companies announced that they will not be supplying anymore. They will not outsource anymore.
Okay.
So this I knew half a year before that this would end.
Okay.
So then I decided to, do I stop it completely, the independency, and take a job, employment somewhere, or do I try to take my time to do my own thing full time then? So I decided to, I'm going to take my time and see how long I can, how much time I can invest in that full time without having an income then.
Yeah.
So 2015, I think it was. Then, or 2015, yeah, exactly. Then I had no more work, so I stopped with that, and then I decided to try to make a watch from scratch. First, maybe take some parts from another movement. And I already knew from the beginning I would like to do a rectangular watch for myself.
Yeah.
And with a tourbillon, yes, to have some more challenge to it.
Yeah.
So I started measuring parts from other movements, trying to figure out how they would fit in, and I realized that it would almost be easiest to start from a blank page, from an empty page. So I started reading books about how do you actually build a watch and what are the recommendations of for the gear train, how many T's and power, the escapement, and so that's it took a few months to make the drawings, figure out how should the whole movement be set up within the frames of the case. And how I wanted the dial to be. Okay. And from there on, I started to do the actual practical work, making the parts. And I had decided I'm gonna take 1 year for that. But then I was prolonging, and in the end, I took 1.5 years actually.
Okay.
And that was, in the beginning it went very slowly to be able to find a good way of making the parts. Learning the machines really properly. And after 1.5 years I was finished, but I would have needed more time actually to finish it really properly.
Okay.
For a real, so it ended up like a prototype.
Yeah, because at the moment the watch is in pieces because you're refinishing some of the parts. And so what's your goals? I guess with this one, do you plan to refinish it? Is there a time frame?
There is no time frame. But I would like to change the design on for a few parts.
Okay.
Because now when I see it in reality, in the flesh, I know what I would like to change. So the shape of the tourbillon cage, for example, it has too many straight lines, and I would like to round it off a bit, make it more feminine. The hands and on the dial, some small things.
Okay.
So, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm gonna take a few measurements, and in the computer I'm already redesigning. And but there is no time frame.
Okay.
For that. One thing that I haven't experienced yet is actually I haven't made the case in gold.
Okay.
It's in brass plated. And that is something I will also take my time to learn how to make it in gold properly.
Okay. So originally you wanted to use you're thinking about using existing parts, but do you feel like it would have compromised the design and the outlook that you're trying to achieve? Is that one aspect or one of the hurdles, I think, that you would have encountered?
That's the main reason. I felt that it really limited me. I had to really go in that way. I was really, and I felt that I had to compromise too much then.
Okay, yeah. By going all the way, you just have that freedom to
exactly
have full control over
it. Yeah.
And so, how long did it take you from to design it, have it designed on the computer before you started?
The first design, that was more the mechanics, the movement. So not counting the design of the case, dial, only position of hands and so.
Yeah.
That took 3 months, I think.
Okay.
3 months. Yeah. And then when I did the practical work, make the parts, somewhere in the end, I started to draw the dial. I made just one temporary dial, playing a little bit with how I could do gouache, but on a plain milling machine.
Okay.
And that was not really. It was very difficult. It's not really possible. So the final design, I went back, tried to find a design for a case, dial, and so on. That was also, don't know how long time it took, but because I was a bit on or off with that while I was making the movements.
Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of like you're thinking about it as you're making the parts, and then did you find a time to just sit out and figure out what the dial and case is going to look like once the movement was finished, or did that happen during?
That the movement was, it was basically finished. And that was basically finished.
Yeah.
I think so, yes.
And when it was finished and cased, it was working, and the timing within what you set out to be, and do you know what that was?
Yeah, I was quite surprised because making the whole escapement, the pallets and the pallet fork and all the parts, was very surprised for the stability. It was something like when I checked the tourbillon with the dial up and dial down, it was a few seconds, I don't remember, 3-4 seconds, something like it's very low.
Yeah.
And I was wearing it for 2-3 months and always checking. It was very stable. The only thing that was miscalculated was the power.
Okay.
I had way too much power in the mainspring.
Yeah.
So I had to really take down the power. But otherwise it was, the timing was very good. And
Yeah. And so when you had to make that adjustment of the power, did you have to modify your barrel, or couldn't it fit inside?
Yeah, I could actually just take a thinner mainspring.
Yeah.
It was not too far off, but it was already knocking.
Okay.
So in the beginning, I actually ordered a few mainspring with different thickness.
Yeah.
So I prepared myself. But I had to take the weakest one.
Yeah. Okay. That's very good. And so, I guess before you went down that journey, what were your time frames that you had in mind originally? And did they sort of blow out a little bit to what you expected? And how did that affect you? Like when you're working through it, did you ever feel like, I'm not going to get this finished? Or did that ever?
Yeah, it was. I think I started out with something like half a year to a year. I thought that I can spend this time.
Yeah.
But I had no expectations of how far I would get.
Okay.
Because the idea from the beginning was that I would just try to do as much as I can, and just for teaching myself to learn.
Yeah.
Like an education for myself. So the goal was not to, during this time, to finish a complete watch, because that felt like I had no idea how far I can come. Yeah. Maybe I'm already trying to make the first pinion. Maybe I'm already blocked, or how do you say, I give up already. I don't know. I didn't know.
Yeah. Okay.
But I felt like after at some point, or I had my moments when I felt like now I'm stuck, completely stuck. I cannot get over this, And but I just had to spend more time, work harder, and then suddenly I was over that hill, and it went fine. That happened a few times. And then when I saw that, okay, maybe I can actually finish a complete watch, then I start to feel like I had a pressure. I can I can take maximum 1.5 years, but then I would have to stop.
Yeah.
And then I felt a little bit pressure in the end to, okay, I should try to finish it.
Yeah.
So that was in the end only when I felt that pressure.
Yeah. So through adversity and overcoming those adversities, you sort of confidence kept building and building, and I guess you would have just had like that attitude of just not giving up and pushing through. Did you ever? Was there any real moments where you thought this is coming to the end? Or
I remember early on when I was questioning myself, where should I start? Which part should I start with? And I decided, okay, I'm going to do something what I thought would be a sensitive part, a more delicate part. So I decided I'm going to start with the escape pinion, because it's very small.
Yeah.
And so I start with that, and I'm going to make my own cutter. I don't know if you call it relief cutter with four tools.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I found an article describing how you can do that. So I made a few tools, and in the end I managed to make the cutter.
Okay.
And started making the pinion. And then I felt like I was spending a few weeks trying to make the pinion. I didn't go really properly.
Yeah.
With the hardening and polishing the pinion, tempering and so on. That already from the beginning, this is so. Now it's uphill. Difficult. To get a really good feeling of the machines I would use. I had already a lot of experience working with the machines.
Yeah.
But now I really had to know them in detail to get a really good result. So already from the beginning, yes, that was, I felt, oh shit, this is a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it happened a few times when I got stuck like that.
Yeah. And so just talking about machines, so what were your main machines that you were using at this point for this watch?
That was the Tourbillon 102, the ACRF one, and the Hauser M1.
Okay.
The pointer, the lathe, and the small milling machine.
Yeah.
And
some very nice tools.
Yeah. And I really like the 102 over the 75.
Okay.
It's a bit more sturdy, but still you can really make small parts.
Fine work with
it.
Yeah. Because what's the highest speed you can get up to? Is it around the 4,000, 3,000?
3,000.
3,000.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than enough.
Yes. Yeah. Even to make a balanced off, it's possible.
Yeah. Okay, with the fixed lathe tool in the slide, or do you?
You can, yes, with the crossride.
Yes.
Yeah, I think yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I made most. I cut all the teeth. I plan to make it actually in the small milling machine, the CRF one.
Yeah.
But then I noticed I could not do the divisions that I wanted.
Okay.
And in the 102, I could do all the divisions. So I did cut all the teeth, made all the pinions and wheels. In the CRF one, I made the pallet fork. Okay. Few other parts. Yeah.
Yep. And so your tourbillon uses the Swiss lever?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Classic Swiss lever.
Yeah. And what's the beats per hour on your balance?
Yeah, that's 21,600.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking, just visually, I liked the 18,000.
Yeah.
But I felt like with that size, maybe I had to go up in the frequency. Just for the accuracy, maybe it would be better than with 21,600.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And was there any point where did you ask anyone for help when you got stuck? Was there any points, or did you try and just accomplish them all by yourself?
Yeah. I was. No, I didn't try to completely by myself, but because I knew that wouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
So my brother helped me a lot. Mm-hmm. He had gone through the same experience. He had already made his watch. So I could take a lot of. He could help me a lot.
Yeah.
And then. Few watchmakers around me, I could ask for advice. Yeah, that's it's very difficult to go by yourself.
Yeah,
and also keep your mood up. That's also difficult.
Yeah.
So trying to get work with other people, that's really helps.
Mm-hmm. And what was what stuck for you the most? That was like the most difficult, the part for you where.
Oh yeah, good question. I thought it would be pallet fork, but no, not at all.
Yeah.
What was it? Yeah, I think the bridge that covers the tourbillon on the backside.
Yeah.
That was a challenge, just for the finishing, to be able to. There's a lot of filing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it felt like, because I started with escape pinion, it felt like that was the most difficult to get really good.
Yeah.
But if I would do it again, it wouldn't be the same challenge. Mm-hmm. But at that time, when I made a watch, I think that was probably most challenging.
Yeah. And yeah, and I guess maybe you answered it just before, but what was the? I think you did with the most easiest. That was the most relief. That part that sort of came to you naturally to make.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's both the escape wheel and the pallet fork. That was. Wow. I thought escape wheel. It's more challenging compared to another wheel.
Yeah.
Because I made 3 cutters to be able to cut all the sides around the teeth.
Yep.
Because I think classically there would be 3 cutters.
Yep.
Which
that's the club tooth. Or
yeah, I guess you call it flat tooth, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, to be able to cut all the sides. So making the cutters, the 3 cutters, and but in the end it worked out as I imagined.
Yeah.
It takes time. You have to really be awake when you do it.
Yeah.
When you switch the cutters, you cannot take out the wheel, but you have to move each. You have to. When I change the cutter, I have to displace it.
Yes.
Accordingly.
Yeah.
And cut from there.
Yes.
And hopefully, it's according to the calculations, I'm doing correctly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So it came out. It worked out very fine, but it took a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Same with the pallet fork. It also I planned it well, and it worked out fine in the end. Even the pallets also. That was a new experience to actually make the 2 pallets.
Okay, so you grinded the sapphire for the faces and all the angles. Wow.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So that was
really good.
Yeah, it was surprisingly easy. Mm-hmm. It goes quite quickly to polish down and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you use your experience, I guess, in repairing like broken pallets? Did that come in handy when you're going down that path of?
I had never repaired any.
Okay.
Pallet forks. I've been playing with old watches, but never pallets actually.
Okay.
Only replacing the pallets.
Yep.
But not actually polishing them or no.
Yeah. Okay.
You except actually on clocks.
Yes.
From there on, it would be very common to actually polish the pallets.
The steel.
Yeah, steel.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I've done a few of those from that VHI course, and it's quite a.
It's basically the same thing. Mm-hmm. You just have to make a holder because they're so small in a wristwatch.
Yeah.
So you make a proper holder, and to be able to measure them, also you need some kind of device.
Yeah. Yeah, and so your escape was out of steel, or did you? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So, because I noticed like a lot of the old American pocket watches and that, if you find they got brass escape wheels, and I guess for your choice of materials, was it just what was already commonly used in industry? Is that how you planned your materials for your parts?
Yeah, that was. I looked how what was commonly used and what was recommended.
Yeah.
And that's I follow that.
Yeah, because I guess if you're going further, the time frames is just starts getting exuberant and trying to manage it all. So
exactly. Yes, yeah. I know my brother. He had been experimenting with other materials in the escapement.
Yeah.
But that's I felt like I didn't have time to record that. There.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, you made the achievement of making the watch, which is and it looks unbelievable. Yeah. And was there any inspiration to get the rectangle? You said you wanted to make it rectangle. Is it just
I don't know where it came from. I just like the look. I'm not sure exactly where it came from, but I always liked. I know my father had I'm not sure if that's Bulova or some American watch, or a rectangular watch. But I felt I would like to have one.
Yeah.
And then I did a bit of research, and I started to look on older watches, wristwatches, and I found type Rolex, Patek Philippe from the 40s.
Yeah.
And those were really beautiful.
Yeah.
So I took inspiration from those.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
And that the back of your tourbillon cage, that's very, very detailed and very intricate. And was there any inspiration for that? The design of how that came about?
Yeah, that was actually. I knew about how much space I would have, and I wanted to have it open to see through. Mm-hmm. And at some point, I was traveling in Portugal, and I saw a church window who had this kind of quite intricate shape.
Yeah.
And that stuck in my memory. And when I was playing around, how should it look like? And then it came back to me.
Yeah.
That, and I followed a little bit that style.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was quite different.
Yeah.
But that inspired me how to think.
Yeah. And what made you go? You've almost got like the like a 3/4 full plate bridge for the back of the watch. Why did you? So why did you go down that path instead of having bridges and?
Yeah, that's. I felt in the overall design that I wanted to have was, I wanted to keep it simple at the same time.
Yeah.
Not too much, because I felt like I was not able to balance it.
Yeah.
Where the wheels were, so I found myself just covering most of it and just keeping that window for the tourbillon.
Yeah.
That's why I felt it would have been too much then to having several bridges and also that.
And too much going on in the back, because it looks like you got that really nice clean finish with the Geneva stripes, and then you got that really intricate, detailed design and really nice finishing on the back of that.
Yeah.
The tourbillon bridge. It looks very, very beautiful. So very well done with the design.
Yeah, thank you.
That looks really, really great. And and so I guess what's your goal with this watch?
Oh, that's a good question. At the moment, I would just like to finish it. Do the gold case, the case for it, and then reshape it a little bit to really make it complete, finished. Yeah. From there on, I'm not sure if I want to just move on to the next project, because I have some ideas I would like to do.
Yeah,
and so I think that's just try to finish it, and then of course. It would be very exciting to just do something else that I have in my mind.
Yeah.
But of course, time is limited. So of course, every time I know that when I gonna remake a part, it's just going to take a long time.
Yeah.
When you do it on manual machines, just one part can take several days, a week.
Yeah.
It depends on how focused you are.
Yeah. And so you've made all these parts either by hand or manual machinery. And what was your inspiration to go down that path?
First, it was just to be able to teach myself how do the machines work and get a feeling for myself, to be able to control everything with my hands. Because I really like to work with my hands, not just program something and let it do for me. I really want to be involved in the whole action.
Yeah.
And during the whole process, I felt like, this is really nice. I really like it.
Yeah.
And then be able to file and polish everything to the final shape. Yeah. It's really like yoga for the mind.
Yeah. So do you like filing?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's. I always often I find myself improving.
Yeah.
Finding something new.
Yeah.
Even if I come to a stage, I think, this is good.
Yeah.
But if I continue, I find myself finding even a better technique, reaching further.
Yeah.
And this I find is very interesting.
Yeah.
And then seeing the result, this is really from my hands.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's not only the technique, you also have to find out, maybe make a tool, several tools, modifying. So there is a bunch of things involved to be able to reach a good result.
Yeah. And probably you have many files. They're all ground with safety surfaces or ground to specific shapes to fit into different spaces for the parts that you're making. Yeah.
Especially for that skeletonized round bridge. Yeah. That was that was a challenge for the filing.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's one of the filing. I think is one of my guilty pleasures. I like to. I think it's just you mentioned before, like yoga for the mind. Like for me, like the world just disappears, and I'm in that zone, and I'm just trying to make every file stroke better. Yeah, it's.
And when you find yourself always improving, it's a nice. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Yes, I guess. Yeah. So, what is your end goal? Like your dream of where you want to, what you'd be doing?
Yeah. I know that this is what I like a lot. It's actually to create and as a watchmaker, create, really make something new. And being involved in the whole process, finishing, and then moving on to the next project. Be able actually to make my own watches really manually until I don't know if I would one day get bored of that, of course, that I don't know, but this is really what I see myself liking.
Yeah.
So the dream would be to be able to sustain myself by doing watches by hand, selling under my own name, and continuing like this.
Yeah.
But really in an artistic way, that would be ideal. But I'm not pushed by someone to produce more.
Yes. Yeah.
And having employees which I have to take care of and feeling pushed in any way. I wouldn't like that.
Yeah. Because I guess it's a lot of pressure as well. If you're trying to make watches and also you've got this, when you have an employee, you're giving them like the finance to put food on the table and roof over their heads, and they might have families. So it's a lot of pressure to try and manage it all as well, which could, interfere with your end goals and focus on what you're trying to achieve.
Yes. Yeah. I see many independent feels like they get caught in this when you see them from the start, when they start and their ideals, and then you look 10 years later where they are, and then it feels like they really need to be able to pay all their employees, and I think the goal changes then.
Yeah.
Maybe there is too much pressure behind. Maybe you have an investor even involved, and but of course you never know if this is my dream now. Maybe if I get into it, maybe in 5-10 years later. Maybe it changes. Maybe I'm not interested anymore in. But this is really my pleasure, and it has been for many years to actually to create.
Yeah.
So that would be a huge pleasure.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so, what hobbies do you have? Do you have any hobbies, Kaj?
Oh yeah, exactly. I do. Good question. Watchmaking?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah,
that's the hobby also. No, I'm machines. that would be something that interests me also a lot. But machines around watchmaking.
Yes.
How they work, and I haven't taken the time to really restore much, but I often disassemble my machines, clean them, and look how is the condition, measure a bit, but it's also some general machines, but other than that, no, watchmaking is it's a hobby and profession.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really good.
Yeah.
I think that's when you know when you're in the right field.
Yeah.
When your escapism is the same thing as you're trying to do. But I guess it's a different facet of watchmaking if it's your hobby or your escapism to like your daily watchmaking. Would you say that like creating would be different to say working in repairs and
oh yeah, definitely, yeah, it is, yeah. No, but also my daughter is 3 years old, and that also takes a lot of my pleasure also.
Yes.
Nowadays.
I completely understand. Yeah.
So that's also kind of it's not a hobby, but it's a family life. It's also
Yeah, that's really nice.
Important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, I guess. So, what's some of your favorite watchmaking machines that you have, or something that you'd like to get? Do you have any gold pieces of machinery?
I would like to have at least. I have now been working with a bigger pointer, the zip. What is it called now? It's number one zip. It has where you have the microscope. You also have the spindle. You see on the House M1, you actually remove the microscope and put in the spindle. But on this zip number one, in the head you have both the spindle and the microscope.
Oh wow!
And you just switch
the positions.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
And then you switch, and you can very quickly look down.
Yes.
Point. Have your spindle in and immediately start working.
Oh wow! Okay. Yep.
And if you lose yourself, you're not sure, you can just move back the microscope without losing too much time.
Yeah.
And it's a very sturdy machine.
Yep.
And
and how big is that?
That is 900 kilo.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So it's maybe it's much heavier than the M1.
Yeah.
It doesn't take maybe it's 1 by 1 meter, slightly more in foot.
So if you compare it to like a Hauser 3B or something similar size, or
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother, he have a.
I think so. 2 or
maybe
3. I'm not too familiar with.
Yeah, because my brother's that one is smaller.
Okay.
That's smaller than the zip one.
Yep.
Zip one is more. It's more. A bit more massive.
Okay.
Sturdy.
Yep. Yeah. So
and I think for many years I wanted to have a bigger lathe than the 102.
Okay.
And for many years I've been looking, I've been asking for prices, and then it was the 120. First I was looking 125.
Yeah.
Where you have the how do you call that, the lead screw?
Lead screw, yeah.
Yeah. And so for a long time I would like to have they have 3 versions of that.
Okay.
125, ABC, I think they're called. And then I knew there were the big ones, 135 and 150.
Okay.
I think they double the weight from the 102 on the base, about the double.
Yeah.
So I always want to have such a machine, but they are very expensive. Yeah. If you find them in an okay condition. Because to restore them, it's very expensive. Yeah. Very expensive. The parts are very expensive, and they need so much time to correct everything the companies will do. And so recently, I was lucky to actually come across one within my budget.
Yeah.
So I take it immediately. Wow. It was 135.
Yeah.
One of the early ones.
Okay.
And I knew the company who had been working with it. They are very careful.
Yeah.
And it looked really good. So I was super happy to take this.
Yeah.
It has the lead screw.
Yeah.
So on the along the bed.
Yep.
Plus it has also. Now I don't know if this is the
automatic cross feed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it has also in the cross slide. It has also.
Yes.
That movement is also automatic.
Yes.
So you control it with a lever.
Yeah.
So that was also, I didn't know that 135 had it, but
oh wow.
So that was okay, very nice. That's a plus.
Yeah.
I think I have at the moment. I have what I want. So there is no dream machine like this.
Yeah.
No, not really. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. You have a point where you have you're satisfied with everything you have. Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, do you have any? So, if you could, what would be your favorite watch brand or watch?
Yeah, exactly.
At the moment, or what?
Wow.
What watch out there at the moment that you're like, wow, like that's a really awesome, probably like the most favorite watch that you've seen.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not very much interested in watches.
Yeah.
I have very little actually. I found myself with my colleagues and friends that they all look the same almost, you know.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand the background, which is very important for brands and models. So I think I more like the people behind.
Yes.
Few independent makers.
Yeah.
And when I was working with Vianney, I got to know him and some models that I was working with there. And his watches are very special when it comes to design. So, and I like him as a person. And he's very different approach when it comes to the design. So not sure how you call that. He have a watch that is not sure if it's a perpetual calendar or the several windows. Not in a classical way, not a round or in a square, not in a rectangle here.
Yeah. Not the Celatarium or something?
I don't think so. I never worked with this one actually.
Okay.
But I really liked it when I see people on having.
Oh, the Antiqua.
Antiqua, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very special and odd.
Yes, yeah.
But I like the work behind it and because I know him as a person also.
Yeah.
So that always comes to my mind. So
I guess coming back to your watch and did you have to formulate like a lot of I guess techniques and procedures to get the final finishing on certain parts and I guess because that's its own process as well. Because I did just touching on that, your brother did show us in the school visit one of the techniques used for polishing in the lathe, polishing the teeth of the
exactly yes
of the barrel of the wheel, the
ratchet wheel,
the ratchet wheel, yes. And so you came up with that, having a bit of, I guess, suspension cushioning in between the polishing part and the headstock.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah.
So that
to
was
get it really, really flat.
Yeah.
Because if you polish with a paper or wood, you start to see bending around the corners, around the teeth.
Yeah.
But if you, for example, if you polish screws on a thin plate or a
tin plate.
Thin plate, exactly. You get the flat look.
Yeah.
Really flat. And so I was thinking that it's possible to use the thin in the lathe to get that angle really, really flat.
Yeah.
On the teeth around the ratchet wheel or the crown wheel.
Yeah.
But I knew that, of course, the thin it's so soft, so the teeth would just cut the thin. That would not be possible, and but having some kind of flex to it, that helped. Yeah. Then it was possible to get it really super flat. So to find a way to be able to do all the types of finishing, that takes a little bit of time and experimentation, back and forward. I found myself doing the bevels, polishing bevels on bridges and various parts. There I find myself sometimes finding a good technique, a good paste, combination with the wood or the tool itself. I find myself sometimes finding, this technique really works well. And then continuing that, no, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like, it was first time I used it by luck, I get a good result. But then when I try to use it over and over, it's not so constant result.
Yeah.
So then I change technique, try something different. It works better. I find myself sometimes going back and forward.
Yeah.
And if I'm working a lot on doing anglage, the bevels in titanium.
Okay.
And it's also a very special material to get a really nice polish, final polish. It's difficult. And like aluminium, I had to polish aluminium also. That was also a challenge.
Yeah.
So there, sometimes I find myself going back and forward. Suddenly I find, wow, this technique works great.
Yeah.
So every day there is progress.
Yeah.
Slow progress.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's one of the challenges, because nothing's in books.
No, it's very difficult.
That stuff. Yeah.
To find,
so just through doing it and going through, that's really good.
Many things around watchmaking is difficult to find. There are many books in various languages, mostly in French and German.
Yep.
But some things can be very difficult to find even in books. And then if you search on internet, it's very difficult, almost impossible sometimes.
Yeah.
And I guess for finishing and surface treatment, it's difficult.
Yeah, because I think I don't know. I guess one of the things that could be things some people, especially the companies, watch companies, like to keep things very close to their chest, and they think that maybe if they show how to do things, they think that maybe people will do it or lose its maybe that magic of the thing. And what is your thought? What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. I think each company, they want to, even if they have a certain method of finishing, or they want to keep it to themselves, even if there is nothing new in that. I don't know if I have an example, but often, of course, they want to keep it to themselves, and because it's how do you say, it's I guess it's easier to sell if you have something special.
Yeah.
only you can do it.
Yeah.
So you don't want to share it,
Yeah.
which is a bit, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's a bit of two sides to it. I think sometimes there's parts that a lot of independents will do, like the polishing and that of certain parts. Like it takes so much time and it's so delicate and needs so much like dexterity and skill to achieve it. I think that gets lost. Like people don't realize just how much work and hours just to even get, the flat polishing done on one part, like just how much time it was. I think that really gets lost. And if you told somebody without maybe demonstrating the process, it's very hard to believe, somebody spends half a day polishing just one small flat surface or just to get that final finish. And I think that's important. I think for me, that's why I'm going down that path of just documenting everything and just for everyone to see how it's done or how I do things, whether they're the right way or not, but just at least they would see the effort and the time that's gone through that.
I think it's a bad habit from watchmakers to keep knowledge to themselves. That's traditionally in at least here in Switzerland, the watchmakers keep it to themselves as soon as they know something. It's very sad because in that way knowledge can get lost. And it has already many things it's completely gone because people didn't write it in a book or just try to figure out how did you in the past, how did you make a hairspring by hand?
Yeah.
I mean, how are hairsprings made? Which materials do you use?
Yeah.
Oh, it's already, you can go and ask a factory here. They would say that, no, this is secret. It's no secret. It has been made for tens of years.
Yeah.
And, but only a few companies make them today industrially. But in the past, they were made by hand, like rubies were made by hand before also.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to find the information now.
Yeah. Especially because watchmaking is so old, like it's centuries old. And I feel like even I think your brother mentioned it, like the beer making and the wine, like the connoisseurs of that of those particular crafts. The watch people who are the connoisseurs of watches aren't at that level of knowledge of people in the other fields, and a lot of the information for being centuries old you can't find on the internet, which is very strange. Like somebody could Google something about anything else and I'm sure pages would come up, but information is very rare. I think a lot has over the last few years a lot more has come out. 10 years ago it was almost impossible. It was very, very hard online. There was nothing almost. When I first started trying to research it was very difficult. Yeah.
That's true. It's but it's coming slowly more and more.
Yeah,
that's true. And it's sad, but I think now with more and more people getting into the social media and the YouTube and sharing, now slowly I'm seeing watchmakers also sharing videos and how they're doing.
Yeah.
And maybe they see that it's not bad sharing.
Yeah.
Maybe they see actually this is a way of getting more attraction, and in a way you win actually.
Yeah.
And people are sharing back then.
Yeah.
If you're sharing.
Yeah.
So I think it's changing now then, slowly but more and more.
Yeah. Just speaking about manufacturing the hairsprings, because that's something, I guess, when you start wanting to make something by hand, you're looking at everything. There was one book that I did come across, and there's a video on YouTube, but it just shows how, I guess, the company make it. I think it was one of the German manufacturers.
Yes, or that's just in the Swiss German.
Yeah, maybe Lange and so it could have been, or Glashütte. And they show where it's got the 2 cylinders and with the 3 slots, and it kind of winds the 3. It feeds the 3 spring wires in and around, and then they just showed that process. I think they showed the heat treating as well, but in the book it explains you do that and then heat treat it, temper it. But then I guess a whole lot of other things come through, like with the carbon and all the temperatures. I mean,
all the details, the important details
are all missing. So
I've seen a few companies who are now. I think you can buy a whole package now.
Okay.
How to. I think it's more about how do you wind your own barrels from a stock of.
Spring steel.
Spring steel,
yeah.
So you're provided with the correct thickness and width of the spring steel, and so if you buy the pack, you get the whole machinery and probably the hardening, the heat treatment thing. Because I saw a Swiss company here; they had this, a small company, and they also on YouTube they show the process.
Okay.
How, very basic way, how they do it. How they feed it into a barrel.
Okay.
Several springs. Spring material.
Yeah.
And then they say, but further than this we cannot show because it's secret. Now we go into a secret room where you do a heat treatment. Come on.
Maybe it's the same video then.
I think
so. Yeah.
I don't remember the name.
Okay. Yeah.
But this was already the same 100 years ago.
Yes.
The details of the material has changed.
Yeah.
The small details, but so.
Yeah. I mean, even for like calculations, I've always tried to look for how do they calculate, the spring, mainspring, the torque and the balance it with the friction through the gears. And then your balance spring tension, like it's I've never come across anything that sort of gives an illustration. I mean, even the friction between wheels, like the power losses and distribution, the ratios of gear teeth. Have you ever come across it?
Yeah, I found I know there is an book for the industry. It's in French. I don't have the name. Where they go into all these details.
Okay.
It's very technical. A lot of math involved, so it's a bit difficult to understand.
Yeah.
But they even provide a CD with all the formulas where you can actually.
Oh, wow.
They have one caliber as an example. How is it industrially composed and made? Yeah. How should you calculate and so on? So you can put in your values.
Yes.
Certain values, and then you come up with which power of the mainspring do you need, and then in the end, hairspring. Where should you look for the hairspring depending on your size of balance and.
Okay. Oh wow.
And they explain, of course, all the details how everything works. They go in quite deeply.
Okay.
So there are a few books made for the schools here in Switzerland.
Yeah. Because I've got like I think the main one, the theory of horology, which is which I read online was one of the main textbooks that they use in a lot of the schools. Yeah, and that gives some calculations of the springs, but it doesn't go into detail. I can't remember off the top of my head. It gives like the formula, but I don't think it's hard without providing worked examples.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe the way that I learn. I can't, or maybe the teacher further explains that. But I'm pretty sure in that book it doesn't go into that detail of I've given you at least an example on how to use that formula correctly.
Yeah.
For say the mainspring strength, or because I know they give the hairspring, how to calculate it, the formula, but I'm not sure they go into details of how to go about using that formula in a proper example. Which that's from memory. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's very limited in that way.
Yeah.
They give the idea of how you should, how it works, how you calculate. But I can give you a few book tips where I find that information.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah.
And then maybe you can share it also.
Yeah, for sure. I'll share it all. So, yeah.
But it can be very, very technical. When you look at what the engineers around watchmaking, what they have to learn.
Yeah,
it becomes super, very advanced. For me, I cannot understand, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very, very...
Yeah, but there are a few books that are into more engineering. One thing that I remember reading in the Watchmaking by George Daniels, or maybe it was from an interview, where he mentioned that he regret that he didn't start making his own watch earlier.
Okay.
Because that he saw that later on that, I mean, I don't need to know everything before. So regretting losing that time when he should have started much earlier to go in making his own watch. And that I also find, I see also that you don't have to spend. You don't need 20, 30 years of experience from service and restoration, seeing all kind of watches and so on, repairing them. So you can jump in. You can jump in from the start. Try, see how far you get, and then you try to get some knowledge. And I think someone who is interested and feel a bit maybe I have no chance to be able to make my own watch. It's just to start and ask people around and just jump in. You don't need I see people have no education and they just jump straight in and they succeed and I don't think watchmaking many times I see, I don't know how you call it in English, but there's a lot of unorthodox solutions to the things we are doing professionally. And that's what watchmaking is all about. Not on an industrial level.
Yeah.
When you need to make 1 million watches, you need to know what you're doing and to be not to make any mistakes.
Yeah.
But if you want to make your own watch, clock, then it's all about just jump in and that's it, and find out.
Through that process of making and
not being afraid, just jump in and see what can you do.
It's really inspiring, especially for someone like me, and I'm sure there's plenty of people as well out there in the same boat. Because I know you get scared sometimes and you don't feel and you don't start, and I'm sure that happens to a lot of people. So coming from someone like you, I'm sure that gives good inspiration to a lot of people to use.
I hope so. I also find myself I should have started just try, try to make something. You don't need also all fancy machines. There are a few independent watchmakers who only work on a small watchmaker's lathes.
Okay.
The small with 8mm collets. They do everything with that. Stephen Pavlov in Germany.
Yes, yeah.
He have a lot of machines, of course, but
Yes.
mainly he work on the watchmaker's lathes.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of things.
He loves the launch.
Yeah.
His launch lathes.
Yeah. He have many of them also.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he has like a couple of ebooks on them with catalogs. I think he's just released recently on iTunes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's one of the guys that helped, like on YouTube. He provided a lot of information, and with the case making.
Yeah.
I bought both his books that he had.
How was English?
Yeah, I think I'm not. The English was like through a Google Translate.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you know, the case making was really good because he supplemented it with the videos, and I think he did that for like a by design to have the videos and then supplement it with the book. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Because I know, like, even George Daniel's book, with all the great information there's a lot of information that's missing.
Yeah.
And until you start going down that path, you don't realize
Exactly.
everything that's missing. And it's and a lot of the times that information isn't available online or.
No.
But yeah, it's slowly changing, I think, as well. I've seen.
And I think what is important is to try to create get in touch with as many people as possible, ask questions, and a lot of people are, when you start asking, they are willing to share if you ask them directly.
Yeah.
And that at least is good.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. In that way you get also inspiration to move forward.
Yeah. Because on one of my videos, you commented you provided such great information, and that helped me so much, and it gives me like hope and motivation as well. Yeah. And I know I've messaged your brother directly, asking him questions, and you know, when he finds a time, he messaged me back with responses, and you know, not trying to like hide some of the stuff. It was just very open and willing to. Because I think I even asked a question on one of your comments, and you replied, I think, on just the information. I think I
don't remember what it was about, but
it was very specific about like
thread making,
metal supplier, and the materials used, and it was about the screw-in guide pins as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
there's something with the thread, make the thread.
Oh yes, I bought that really flash threading tool. And it sort of forms the threads instead of cutting threads. And then I just put the brass in there. It was I think it was like 1 millimeter, and it just jammed straight in there. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you know, for me, I saw that tool. I think one of the McGonnell brothers, one of
on Instagram.
Yes, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. I'll get this tool, and then I looked it up, and then I thought, you know, what size thread would be probably the most common I use. I'd get that one first, and I also thought I'll try it in brass because it's easier. Yeah. But thinking back now, like brass is probably one of the worst because it's very soft, and you advised me to have a lot of taper on the. Yeah. I think you specified the degrees as well. I saved the screenshot of.
Exactly. Yeah. They have a very specific. You keep very specific diameter. Yeah. That was very important not to get too big.
Yeah. And I think from my experiences with cutting, I always like slightly oversized the material. Yeah. I don't know why I felt like it always gave me a better finish. It could be just in my head, but I always felt like it was better to be a bit over because it'd cut through instead of being a bit under and then have like a loose screw in the thread. Not by much, just by maybe several microns or so. But I guess once you get to a more precise tool like that,
then it becomes important.
Yeah. What's in the future for you, and what can we expect in the next several years, I guess?
Next 10 years? Or?
Yeah.
The time frame is very, very difficult to say.
Yeah.
I don't see. Now I feel myself occupied with small projects also.
Yeah.
And having a full-time job.
Yes.
It takes, of course, the biggest part of my life.
Yeah.
So everything on the side for my own watch, that's moving very slowly.
Yeah.
So I don't. No, it's very difficult to say. Next 2 years, I'm not gonna. There will not be anything new for myself. That I'm quite sure. So, but who knows what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
No, exactly.
What's gonna happen? So, yeah. And how do you go about? You have the full-time job. You have a family. You have this thing in the back of your mind. I'm sure it's always calling you to create and work on. And how do you find it easy to balance everything, or do you sometimes struggle?
Yeah, it is difficult. The lack of time that I find it's a bit. Sometimes now I'm used to it, but it was frustrating before not be able to have enough time for continuing with my own watch. But I see it was really good with a pause. To be able to slowly think it over.
Yeah.
But now I only see that it's not difficult really to plan the time. It's just that I don't have enough.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that I can get more time soon.
Okay.
That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
So. And at the same time, I'm also trying to learn a few things before I can really get into it fully.
Yeah.
Few finishing and now a bit on the goldsmithing. Yeah. And get to know my new machines also.
Yeah.
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 So I'm happy also for the kind of a break, having time to think, learn a few things before I get into my own watch again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good because for me sometimes I get a bit frustrated. For myself, I'm like, I didn't have time to do this, or instead of sometimes I feel like. You obviously have to spend time with your wife, and sometimes I fall into that thing of I'm just sitting here. I wish I could just be. I think just getting that balance of being, I guess, present at each moment, whether you're working on your watch or your job or spending time with the family. It sounds like you're good at.
I'm not. I'm not so good at planning, but I fell into the rhythm where it feels comfortable. Having time with the family. And also some time for the projects on the side. I fell into that. It feels convenient, but I recognize that feeling where it's you feel like, now I really want to, go a whole week and then Saturday, Sunday, 20 hours I want to do this. That I recognize that. Yes.
Well, it's getting a bit late, and I know you have work tomorrow. And thank you, so much again for taking the time to, show your watch and do this interview. Because I know you came the other day as well to Henrik's school, and we just ran out of time and we couldn't do this. But it's been really pleasure for me.
Yeah,
I'm so grateful that you made the time to do this. I think it's very valuable information, and yeah, just want to thank you. Thank you for doing this. So yeah,
thank you so much.
No worries. All right then. Yeah, I guess we'll end the video here. This is Kaj Korpela. I'll put all his details and links and social medias in the description below. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was okay.
Yeah.
Good.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
First time, so.